Rain lashed the windows of the Oak Ridge police station as Sheriff Mason Cooper looked up from his coffee, startled by the metallic thud at the door. A German shepherd, drenched panting, streaked with blood and mud, staggered inside, collapsing on the linoleum floor. Strapped to his back with torn cloth was a small, unmoving child. "Jesus Christ," Deputy Larson whispered, rushing forward. The dog's body trembled, but his growl was low and warning, his amber eyes locked on the unconscious girl. "That's Jack Mitchell's girl," Cooper murmured, his voice hollow. "And that's their dog, Hunter." Paramedics flooded in moments later. As they untied Emma, her matted blonde hair fell limp across her cheeks. Hunter didn't flinch. His eyes stayed on her the entire time, even as his body threatened to shut down. When Agent Reynolds from the FBI arrived, Hunter somehow rose to his feet. Limping, he turned toward the exit, looking back with eyes too intelligent for a mere dog. Eyes that begged follow. "He's trying to show us something," Reynolds said, voice soft with awe. 3 days earlier, Emma Mitchell was just another quiet 8-year-old one, with freckles and 2 old eyes, the kind that had seen more than they should. Her mother had been murdered when she was 3. A mystery never solved. A scar Oak Ridge never stopped whispering about. Her father, Jack, once a proud Marine, had withered since that day. He carried guilt like armor. He tolerated Hunter because Emma loved the dog, but also because Hunter had once belonged to Sarah, his wife. On the day she died, Hunter had tried to defend her, and failed. Jack had taken that failure personally. He'd abandoned the dog in a fit of rage and only relented when Emma found Hunter again, years later, at the shelter. She'd clung to him. He'd let her. They were never apart after that. And maybe that's why, on that rainy morning, Hunter didn't stop moving until he brought her home, to the place where someone would finally listen, to the place where his mission could begin. The station buzzed with tension. Emma was rushed into an ambulance. Yet even as the doors shut, Hunter refused to look away. He stood unsteady but upright, watching the flashing lights disappear with her inside. His loyalty didn't waver, it burned. Agent Reynolds didn't wait. She ordered the vet on site and had Hunter examined in the lobby. 3 tranquilizer darts, a jagged leg wound, exhaustion. Any other dog would be unconscious, but not him. "He's running on something stronger than adrenaline," she murmured. Behind the quiet stillness of the dog's face lay years of hurt. He bore scars on his flank and ear, physical wounds, yes, but also something deeper. The limp in his step, the way he braced when approached, it spoke of battles fought alone. Emma had been the only one who truly saw him, just as broken, just as guarded. That's why they connected, 2 souls who had learned early that the world could be cruel. Jack, meanwhile, hadn't known how to be a father after Sarah died. He kept his distance from both Emma and Hunter, locked in his own silent war with grief. His way of coping was forgetting, shutting out reminders of the past. And Hunter, with his quiet eyes and unflinching loyalty, was the loudest reminder of all. But Emma had always trusted Hunter. She spoke to him more than she spoke to people, played games with him, whispered secrets into his fur. At school, he'd wait in the truck bed every day, watching the door's tail wagging gently the moment she stepped outside. That Tuesday morning had been no different. Emma had turned at the door. "See you at 3, Hunter," she said with a half smile. His tail tapped once on the metal amber eyes shining, but she never came back. And when the sun dipped behind the trees and the parking lot emptied, Hunter knew something had taken her, and this time he would not fail. By the time Jack arrived at the school, the playground was nearly empty. A handful of teachers lingered near their cars, chatting in the dusk. Emma was nowhere. Hunter stood rigid in the truck bed ears, high tail still. A low whine built in his throat, not a bark, not a growl. A warning. She's probably at a friend's. Jack muttered the lie sour in his mouth. But even he didn't believe it. Emma didn't have friends. Not since Sarah. Jack approached Mrs. Winters, Emma's teacher. She paused at her car door. She was picked up early, she said. A woman said there was a family emergency. She signed the office log. Wasn't that arranged by you? Jack's stomach dropped. The world tilted under his boots. No, he said. No one was supposed to pick her up but me. Within the hour, the sheriff had assembled a search party. FBI agents were already en route. But Hunter, he'd known before any of them. The moment Emma didn't return, something shifted in him. He paced in the truck, pulled at the leash ears, darting toward the woods behind the school. The low whining became a growl, deep and urgent. Jack didn't understand. Get it together, he snapped, tugging Hunter back. He's been weird all day, he told Cooper. Agent Reynolds didn't look away. Dogs can sense what we can't, she said. Might be worth following his lead. But Cooper scoffed. We've got K9s coming. We don't need some emotional house pet confusing things. Hunter was taken home, locked in the laundry room. His howls carried down the street, long and mournful, the sound of guilt or prophecy. Jack tried to ignore it, changed his clothes, poured a drink. Then the call came. We found Emma's backpack, Reynolds said. By Miller's Creek. There are signs of a struggle. Jack's glass shattered on the floor. He turned to the door. Hunter was gone. The laundry door hung open, and in the distance down the road toward the woods, wet paw prints faded into the dark. Dawn broke in muted gray over Oak Ridge. Jack stood in the living room hollow-eyed as Dr. Andrews packed up her bag. He's probably trying to find her, she said with professional calm. German shepherds are loyal, especially to children. He's the last thing Emma has left of her mother, Jack whispered, rubbing a hand over his stubble. Sarah trained him. Before, he trailed off. A memory surfaced, Sarah's voice, stern and patient, giving Hunter commands in the backyard. Teaching him things Jack had never understood. She'd said it was for protection. He hadn't asked more. Dr. Andrews placed a gentle hand on Jack's arm. Sarah was one of my first clients here. She loved that dog. Jack blinked. You knew Sarah? Just professionally, Andrews replied. She brought Hunter in shortly before, but Jack never heard the rest. Sheriff Cooper barged in, announcing that Thomas Blackwood was organizing a new volunteer effort. Jack's jaw tensed. Emma didn't like Blackwood. Said he watched her too closely at the youth center. Cooper's face turned hard. Blackwood's done more for this town than anyone. Found the Anderson twins last year. You want to argue or you want your daughter back? Jack said nothing. He just left. Say, rumors had begun to swirl. People whispered at search posts. Some blamed Jack's drinking. Others cast suspicion on Hunter. That dog always seemed off, one volunteer murmured. Too intense for a kid. I heard Mitchell beat him, someone else said. Jack heard every word. On the third day, hope thinning to threads, Jack came face to face with Blackwood himself. She's such a special girl, Blackwood said, placing a hand on Jack's shoulder for just a second too long. Jack pulled away. You barely know her. There was a flicker, something cold in Blackwood's eyes. I was close with Sarah, he said. She'd want me to help. Before Jack could respond, his phone rang. The vet clinic. Mr. Mitchell. Hunter's here. Covered in blood. You need to come. Now. Hunter had left the house with a single purpose, find Emma. He didn't need a map. Her scent was enough. Through creek beds, bramble, and forest trails, the German shepherd moved like a ghost. His paws bled, his body ached, but he pressed on. The smell of Emma, frightened, faint, was always just ahead. Mixed in with hers were other scents, cigarette smoke, cologne, gun oil. By nightfall of the second day, the trail led into a remote region of the Blue Ridge foothills. Locals called it Devil's Backbone, a place of cliffs, caves, and silence. And that silence broke when Hunter heard voices. "Blackwood wants her moved tonight," one man said. "The search is too close." "Kid won't stop crying," the other replied. Hunter crouched low, circling, until he found a poorly concealed vent behind a boulder. It reeked of sweat and fear. He squeezed through scraping open old wounds, but he didn't slow. Inside the bunker was a labyrinth. Dim bulbs buzzed above concrete halls. Hunter followed her scent stronger, now soaked into the steel door at the end of a corridor. From the other side, he heard its soft sobs. Emma's voice cracked barely a whisper. "Is that you?" He pressed his nose to the door's gap. She reached out, fingers touching his muzzle. "I knew you'd come," she said. "They're going to move me. There's a man here. He smells like the one who hurt Mom." Hunter froze. The scent, he knew it, buried deep in memory. Sarah's blood, the intruder, the cologne. That man was here. Footsteps. Hunter pulled back, blending into shadows, as a guard unlocked the door. "Dinner time, Princess." The moment the door creaked open, Hunter launched. His teeth found flesh. The man screamed, dropping the tray, reaching for a gun. Too late. Hunter knocked him flat, snarling with precision. Emma darted past them. "This way," she cried, pulling him toward a narrow room with a high window. Hunter followed, battered, but alive. He stopped under the ledge and looked at her. "You want me to climb on you?" she asked. Hunter stood still. Emma scrambled up, grunted, shoved the window open. She slipped through. Hunter couldn't. The window was too small. "Come on, Hunter," Emma whispered from the other side of the window. Her small face appeared again, streaked with dirt and urgency. "You have to come." But Hunter didn't move. His broad shoulders wouldn't fit. Instead, he barked once, soft, deliberate. "You can't fit," Emma realized. Her voice broke. "I won't leave you." Another bark, sharper this time. "Go." From the corridor came the sound of boots, many of them. Voices shouted. Hunter's ears twitched. Time was vanishing. "I'll find help, I promise," Emma whispered, and then she was gone, feet crunching through the forest underbrush. Hunter turned to face the hallway. The first man rounded the corner and met fury. Hunter struck like lightning, knocking him into the wall. A second man tripped over the first. Chaos erupted in the narrow passage. One gun fired a flash, a howl. A bullet grazed Hunter's side, but he didn't fall. He didn't stop. He drew them away from Emma's path. Every bite, every lunge was precise. His military training years, dormant, now flared like instinct. He wasn't killing. He was distracting, giving her minutes, maybe seconds. Outside, Emma had made it 20 yards before the gunshot rang out. She froze. "Do I go back?" Before she could decide, a familiar voice called her name. "Emma." Dr. Andrews stood in the woods, her white coat somehow clean, her vet bag in hand. She smiled like a friend. "Hunter found me," Emma cried. "But he's still inside. We have to help him." The smile faltered. "Of course, sweetheart. But first, are you hurt?" She knelt, pulling a stethoscope from her bag. "There's no time," Emma said, backing up. "Just a quick check," Andrews insisted. She leaned in, and that's when Emma smelled it, cologne. The same scent from the bunker. The scent from her house the night her mother died. "You're with them," Emma whispered. Andrew's expression turned cold. "You're confused." "No. Hunter always growled at you." He knew. Andrews grabbed her wrist. "Thomas won't be happy if I lose you again." But then, from the trees, a blood-soaked shadow surged. Hunter. Broken, bleeding, alive. Hunter slammed into Dr. Andrews with all he had left, knocking her to the forest floor. She cried out, scrambling for something in her bag. But the shepherd was faster, pinning her with a snarl, that left no room for misunderstanding. "Run, Emma," a voice bellowed from the trees. Jack Mitchell burst into the clearing, followed by Agent Reynolds and 2 FBI agents, weapons drawn. "Daddy," Emma sobbed, running into Jack's arms. He scooped her up like she weighed nothing, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. "Are you okay?" "Did they hurt you?" "No," she whispered. "Hunter saved me. Again." Reynolds' advanced gun trained on Andrews. "Sarah Andrews, you're under arrest." Andrews didn't even flinch. Her laughter was cold hollow. "You have no idea what you've stumbled into." As if her words summoned it, gunfire erupted from the bunker entrance behind them. The agents returned fire. Jack shielded Emma behind a tree, while Hunter limped over, placing his body between them and the chaos. "We need to move," Jack whispered. "Can you run?" Emma nodded, eyes locked on Hunter. "He's hurt bad." Jack looked at the dog, his wife's dog, the one he'd cursed for years. "But he still found you," he murmured, "when no one else could." The FBI escorted them toward the access road a half-mile east. They'd barely made it a quarter-mile before Emma pulled away. "Daddy, he can't keep up. He's bleeding too much." Jack turned. Hunter was stumbling, one paw, dragging blood soaking his fur. A choice that would have been unthinkable days ago came easily now. "Wrap this around your shoulders," Jack said, handing Emma his jacket. "I'm carrying him." "You can't, he's heavy." Jack just bent down. "I owe him everything." Hunter didn't resist. He simply looked up at Jack with tired amber eyes that no longer held resentment, only trust. Jack lifted him slowly. The weight was immense, but it was the weight of redemption. Emma led the way. Hunter's blood soaked through Jack's shirt. Each step whispered something Jack hadn't dared believe in years. Forgiveness. At the access road, agents rushed to help. Hunter was laid gently onto a blanket. His breathing was shallow, his tail still, until Emma knelt beside him. "He saved me," she told them fiercely. "Now we save him." She moved with purpose, directing agents to press bandages where the blood ran worst, recalling things Sarah had taught her. "Apply pressure here. Don't touch his side." Her voice never trembled. She was her mother's daughter. Hunter's tail thumped once, weak but there. Reynolds watched silently. Jack did too, something unraveling in his chest. For 5 years he'd seen Hunter only as a shadow of failure. But now he saw him clearly. A hero, a guardian, a final promise kept. At the hospital, Jack and Emma barely left Hunter's side. The vet team worked around the clock. Emma, treated for dehydration and minor cuts, refused to be separated from either of them. The staff bent rules to let her sleep beside Hunter's recovery kennel. Jack watched her from his bed, overwhelmed by how close he'd come to losing her, and how it had been Hunter, not him, who brought her back. "He knew who took me," Emma whispered one evening, curled on Jack's lap. "He knew it was the same people who hurt Mom." Jack stiffened. "We haven't talked about that," he said gently. "I remember the smell. The cologne. Mr. Blackwood wears it. That's why Hunter always growled when he came near." The room went still. Jack's mind reeled. Thomas Blackwood, the community's Golden Boy organizer, donor, savior, had been one of the first people at their house after Sarah's murder. He'd held Jack's shoulder, comforted him, stayed close. Too close. Reynolds entered then, shoulder-bandaged face, pale but resolute. "We need to talk," she said. They stepped into the hall. "It's bigger than we thought," Reynolds explained. "A trafficking ring up and down the East Coast. Blackwood's youth centers were a cover. Sarah Andrews was his partner." Jack blinked. "Why Emma? Why us?" "Because Sarah was investigating him," Reynolds said. "She was building a case. She got too close. She hid the evidence, but they never found it." Jack's voice broke. "I didn't know. She never told me. She may have left it with someone she trusted." They both looked through the glass. "At Hunter," Jack murmured. "Sarah trained him right before she died. Some new command. She never explained it. Reynolds leaned in. Do you remember the command? Jack shook his head. Something strange. Maybe about hiding secrets. Emma's eyes lit up from across the room. She ran to them. Treasure. Jack blinked. What? Mom called it the treasure game. She'd hide things. Say, find the treasure hunter. And he always did. Reynolds turned sharply. Let's try it. Emma knelt beside Hunter's bed, placed a hand on his paw. Hunter, she whispered. Find the treasure. The reaction was immediate. His ears lifted. He tried to stand whining with urgency. He knows, Reynolds said. He's trying to show us. But the effort was too much. Dr. Patel rushed in. His vitals are spiking. He's not strong enough. Jack crouched next to him. Emma, try what Sarah used to say when the game was postponed. Emma nodded, stroked his head. Treasure later, okay? When you're stronger. Hunter relaxed. His eyes never left hers. The next morning, the hospital buzzed with motion. Emma was discharged and Hunter was cleared for a brief walk in the healing garden. Meanwhile, Reynolds and a forensic tech examined Hunter's old leather collar. Something felt off about it. It's thicker than it looks, the tech muttered. A handheld scanner beeped. There's something embedded inside. Jack stared. You think Sarah? We're about to find out. The tech worked slowly, cutting into the lining. Inside, hidden behind waterproof seals, was a micro SD card. No bigger than a fingernail. Reynolds exhaled. Jackpot. She sealed it in an evidence bag. This could be everything Sarah found. Jack's knees went weak. For 5 years, the truth had been inches from his hands, resting against the neck of the dog he once abandoned. Back outside, Emma stood beside Hunter in the garden, his steps slow but sure. He's sniffing everything, she observed. See how his ears move. He's always alert, Jack replied, watching Hunter pause by a flowering bush. Your mom said he could detect things people miss. She said he was special, Emma whispered. She told me. Sometimes secrets need to be hidden, where only the right people can find them. Jack knelt beside Emma. Did your mom ever show you where she hid the treasure? Emma thought hard. Sometimes in her box, sometimes her books. Once she put it in Hunter's bed. The pieces were finally coming together. Sarah hadn't just trained Hunter to protect. She trained him to preserve a truth too dangerous to trust to anyone else. Suddenly, Hunter stiffened. A growl built in his chest. Jack stood quickly, eyes sweeping the garden. At first, nothing. Just an empty path, sunlight glinting on leaves. Then he saw the groundskeeper. Nothing unusual except the cologne. It floated on the morning air like poison. Emma, Jack said, voice low. We're going inside. But now, as they turned toward the doors, the man dropped his rake. His hand slid inside his jacket. Mr. Mitchell, he called. Hunter stepped between the man and the family. He didn't bark. He didn't flinch. Just need to talk, the man said. His voice was calm, but the pistol in his hand wasn't. Run inside, Emma, Jack whispered. But now, she obeyed. The man stepped forward. The boss just wants what belongs to him. That microchip. Give it to me and nobody gets hurt. Jack stared him down. Too late. The FBI has it. The man's expression hardened. Then I guess the boss wants to send a message. He raised the gun, aimed not at Jack, but at Hunter. Jack lunged. The gun fired with a muffled pop. The shot went wide. They hit the ground, grappling. Jack's ribs screamed in pain. The gun skittered away just out of reach. The man struck Jack hard in the jaw. Hunter moved. Despite his wounds, he circled, waiting, watching. Then he struck his jaws, clamping onto the gunman's wrist as the man reached for the pistol. Not to kill, just to stop him. The man howled in pain. Jack grabbed the gun and pointed it with shaking hands. Good boy, he gasped. Security flooded in. Agent Reynolds close behind, weapon raised. The man was cuffed, bleeding, and furious. "You okay?" she asked Jack. "Been better," he muttered. "But we're alive. Thanks to him." He turned to Hunter, who collapsed at his feet, chest heaving. "You never stop, do you?" Jack whispered, stroking his fur. Hunter's tail thumped once. Hunter was lifted gently onto a gurney. Jack hovered, heart in his throat. "Will he be okay?" he asked. Dr. Patel examined the reopened wounds. "He's tough. Nothing life-threatening. He just needs rest." Emma ran to Jack, tears in her eyes, as she saw the blood on his face. "You're hurt. Just scratches," Jack said, hugging her close. "Hunter saved us. Again." Emma turned to the dog, now wheeled back inside. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full. "He always does. Mom said he would." Reynolds caught up to them as they entered the hospital. "The microchip has everything she said. Photos, recordings, written files. Your wife documented it all. Blackwood's operations, Sarah's murder." Relief crashed through Jack like a wave. After 5 years of silence, the truth finally had a voice. "It's over then?" he asked. "Almost," Reynolds said. "We're raiding Blackwood's mountain cabin now." Jack nodded slowly. "What about us?" "You're being moved to a safe house tonight," she said. "Blackwood and Andrews are still out there. You're targets. So is Emma. And we're not leaving Hunter behind." Later that night, Jack stood beside Hunter's kennel, watching him sleep. Emma dozed nearby, her small hand resting on the dog's side. Reynolds joined him quietly. "Blackwood's cabin was rigged with explosives," she said. "He knew we were coming. We lost agents." Jack clenched his jaw. "He's still out there, gone dark. But we have the full picture now. The youth programs were cover. Sarah found out. That's why she was killed." Jack looked at Hunter. "She protected the evidence," Reynolds continued. "And she trained him to protect Emma and you." Jack had no words, just a rising ache in his chest. For years he'd blamed Hunter for not saving Sarah, but Hunter had never stopped trying. The safe house was a modest farmhouse, tucked deep into rolling fields, far from Oak Ridge. FBI agents patrolled the perimeter. Inside, Dr. Patel turned the living room into a makeshift recovery space for Hunter. And in the center of it all, Emma, quiet and focused, changing bandages, checking IV lines, whispering encouragement into Hunter's ears. "She'd make a fine vet," Dr. Patel remarked, watching her. "She has the hands for healing." Sarah wanted her to be a journalist, Jack said. Called her a fearless truth-teller. "Maybe she'll be both." The doctor smiled. "Like her mom." That afternoon, Agent Reynolds pulled Jack into the kitchen. "Blackwood made contact," she said. "He wants to trade the original evidence." "For Emma." Jack's blood ran cold. "He thinks Sarah kept physical backups, tapes, notebooks," Reynolds continued. "He believes you know where they are." "I don't," Jack said. "I've gone through everything. There's nothing." "Maybe not to you," Reynolds replied. "But Sarah trusted someone else to hold the key." Jack turned slowly toward the living room, where Hunter lay resting his head on Emma's lap. And something clicked. "Emma," he asked gently, "did your mom ever show you where she and Hunter hid things?" She nodded. "Sometimes in her special box. Sometimes in books. Once, in his bed." Suddenly, Hunter lifted his head. He rose, slow, steady, alert, and walked toward the back door. He paused there, waiting. Emma stood. "He wants to show us something." They followed him out to the old barn behind the safe house. Inside, dust danced in a beam of sunlight. Hunter limped toward a hay bale and began to paw. Jack knelt beside him, brushing hay aside. A loose floorboard, underneath a sealed plastic case. Inside it, handwritten notes labeled tapes, photos, all of Sarah's originals. Everything Blackwood thought he erased. Jack held it close to his chest, breath shaking. "You did it," he whispered to Hunter. "You kept her mission alive." Emma hugged Hunter's neck, and for the first time in 5 long years, Jack didn't feel alone. He felt whole. As they walked back through the tall grass, Emma looked up. "Daddy, when Hunter's better, can we go home?" Jack looked down at her at Hunter walking beside them. "Yes," he said softly. "It's time we all went home."